Yo, what is up? In today's video, I'm going to be going over the best team compositions and legend combos to be using in Apex Legends for ranked and competitive. Your team comp is one of the most important decisions you will make in a game and dictates how you will play for the rest of it. So choosing a good comp is super important no matter if you're a pro player or playing in silver lobbies. As most of us know, the ALGS Year 2 finals just happened, which is what inspired this video. It was super interesting seeing the variety of comps and legends that the pros were using. There's 5 comps in total on this list with a variety of legends and playstyles, so you should be able to find the best to suit you and your team, or just watch for fun and see if your list compares to mine. Starting off with the classic. This team comp consists of Gibraltar, Valkyrie, and Caustic. In the ALGS, this comp dominated the scene. It was the most popular with teams by far, being selected about 40% of the time. The winners, Dark Zero, used this to become back-to-back winners on LAN, so it's definitely a tried and true pick. The nice part about this comp is that it mixes 3 of the most popular and consistent legends in the meta for a team that can do well in any situation. The classic kind of has the perfect mix of everything. You have Valkyrie, which is your rotation legend, Caustic, which is your defensive legend, and Gibraltar for the rock and anchor of the team. I want to start off talking about how you should play Valkyrie, because she is important in this team comp. No other legend provides the same rotational ability as Valk. First of all, she can scan survey beacons to know where the next zone will pull, and obviously her ult allows for a free rotation, so the utility she provides for the team is massive. However, the role she has to play is bigger than just that. Since the other 2 legends on this team comp, Gibby and Caustic, are big and slow with no movement abilities, the Valk player has to be the one getting up close and in the enemy's face. Whoever plays Valkyrie needs to be the entry fragger who's looking for opening damage. She kind of plays like a Wraith, being the one who is in front of the other 2, looking for that entry damage or knock that you can use to engage. Most pro teams who use this comp put their fragger or controller player on Valkyrie, but that's just a recommendation. As for Gibby, Gibby's just going to do what Gibby does. He provides the dome for extra safety and a chance to reset. In game, he'll be the one that's usually playing a little bit behind the other 2 legends, opposite of how Valkyrie plays. Caustic is on this team comp to provide the defensive abilities the other 2 do not. His traps can be used to fortify a building or lock down a position, which is very useful for endgames. The beauty of this comp is that it is so versatile and can be used for almost any playstyle, which is what makes it so popular alongside the fact it's also pretty broken. However, the recommended playstyle most pros usually use with this comp is to scan a beacon and rotate relatively early to a position that will be in ring for a long time to come. From there, the Caustic can do its thing and you'll have the area locked down and should be able to make it to endgame. I find this team comp gains me pretty consistent RP and ranked because I almost always make it to endgame with good placement and usually a few kills. The last thing I want to mention is the endgame strategy that this comp provides. In the very last ring where the zone closes for good, the Gibby player should throw his dome outwards. From there, all 3 players should get in the dome and the Caustic player should start throwing his ult in as many traps as he can. Then, as the dome is falling, the Valkyrie player can fly up as far into the air as possible with her jetpack. Almost always, the gas from the Caustic player will kill or weaken everyone in the ring since it's so small no one can avoid it. And even if the Caustic and Gibraltar do die, the Valkyrie is in the air safely. This strategy is so overpowered that the pros use it every game. Overall, the classic team comp is a great choice in any situation I would recommend for everyone to try out. Simply the fact that it has won ALGS twice in a row should be enough. The next comp is what I simply refer to as the Aggro comp. This comp is made up of Hippxz, Caustic, and Horizon. You may have seen a few pro teams run it in the past, famously NRG, but I like to think of it more as a primarily ranked comp. Unlike in the classic, where each legend provides something different for the team, in the Aggro comp, the legend abilities combine for a deadly combo. You might see how combining Horizon's ult with Caustic's gas and Hippxz's nades will lead to a devastating result. The Horizon ult will suck the enemy team into the gas and nades and at that point it's pretty much over. This is definitely one of the most frustrating team comps to play against because you're constantly getting spammed with ordinances and there's almost nothing you can do about it. This team comp excels when pushing teams that are defensively set up, especially in buildings, because they will have nowhere to run against your constant spam. I would recommend this comp for any teams that want to play more aggressively but are also familiar with each other and how each other play. It does require a little bit more cohesiveness and working together to pull this comp off successfully, so I normally don't run it with teammates I'm not comfortable with. If you do end up running the aggro comp at some point, I can guarantee you will have a lot of fun annoying everyone else in the lobby. After the aggro comp, I wanted to include the TSM comp. This team is composed of a Valkyrie, a Seer, and a Mad Maggie. Its playstyle is kind of a cross between the aggro and the classic, where it's meant to be played a little bit more aggressively than the classic comp, but not as much as with the aggro. As the name suggests, TSM were the original users of this comp and have been running it for several months now. It was originally created kind of as a counter to the classic, which is what everyone was running at the time. Mad Maggie is a choice that is definitely not seen as often, but she works to counter Gibraltar teams very well. In competitive, before this comp, it was very hard to play as an aggressive team without a Gibraltar. If you were playing as a more aggressive team without a Gibraltar and tried to push a team with a Gibraltar, you're at a disadvantage as soon as they bubble. However, Mad Maggie kind of takes this out of play. When the Gibby bubbles and all of a sudden the bubble becomes unplayable due to Maggie's drill, it sends the other team into a panic where you can clean up the fight. TSM also makes great use of Maggie's ult, the Wrecking Ball. Reps, the guy who plays Maggie on TSM, throws the ball at an enemy's team cover, which allows the whole team to push in. It's an instant entry ticket if used correctly. In addition to Mad Maggie, TSM started using Seer, which was later adopted by a lot more teams because of his power in pushing teams. Throwing his ultimate on a team you want to push gives you the instant advantage of knowing right where everyone is. The combo of this plus being able to cancel revives and get extra scans with his tactical is an invaluable combo. On top of that, his passive Harpy is super useful for locating rats or seeing if a team is nearby. After you win a fight, you can immediately check for a third party with Seer's Harpy, which is yet another thing that helps you play a little more aggressively without as much of a risk for third parties. The last thing to mention is that Seer and Maggie combo well together. When you know right where the other team is and where they want to play, it makes it super easy for the Maggie player to send a well-placed drill at the enemy team. With Seer becoming a large part of the meta and Mad Maggie playing well with him, TSM has had a lot of success with this comp, and I think it's worth experimenting with. The next comp is perhaps the most hated and feared team comp of all time. Nicknamed Revtane, it consists of Octane, Revenant, and Crypto. Most of us are probably at least a little bit familiar with seeing this comp in ranked. It's not nearly as popular now as it was in earlier seasons, but I still decided to throw it on the list as it has always been strong and somewhat of a unique comp. This is another aggressive playstyle team comp. It's just based more around legend abilities than any other aggressive archetypes. These three have ultimates that work in synergy better than any others in the game. The idea is that you get Crypto's drone into position on an enemy team you want to push or a fight you want to third party. Octane then throws down his jump pad, and the Revenant player places down his totem. As the Octane player and Revenant player take the jump pad, the Crypto player can EMP, then follow them. It's important to note that the Octane and Crypto have to use their abilities before going into totem mode, because after the Revenant nerf you can no longer use legend abilities while in the totem. This is a killer combo because you can get quickly and safely into a fight where you will have no risks of dying. And since the EMP will have destroyed the enemy shields, you'll be on a relatively even playing field. I like to use this Revtane combo especially for third partying. Most of the time you can clean up the fighting without the risk of getting knocked or dying. Since you have the Octane pad to cover distance, you can place Revenant's totem in a safe place out of the way of the fighting. This used to be one of the most popular team comps for higher level ranked teams, but since a few seasons ago it's kind of fallen off the map. I think it was mainly due to the nerfs in Revenant and the return of hammer point rounds to the loot pool. However, I think this team comp is still super viable for ranked and fun to pull off. The last comp I'm going to be including in this video is what I call the Diamond Comp. I call it that because it's always viable and a good choice for diamond ranked teams. Whenever I'm trying to make a push for Masters, this is my go-to, just because it's so consistent and good for pushing RP. This comp consists of Loba, Fuse, and Caustic. If you notice, it's pretty similar in legend selection to the Aggro comp, with the only difference being a Loba instead of a Horizon. However, the two comps are very different when it comes to playstyle. The Diamond comp is more of a get to endgame type of team. Obviously, this team comp is good for anyone even if you're not in Diamond, but the reason this is my go-to Diamond comp is that in Diamond, placement matters a lot. It's really hard to stay consistent or gain steady RP if you are not getting good placements. With this team, I find that I consistently get to endgames and do well in them. I talked about Caustic earlier in this video, but he provides the ability to hold buildings in positions, which is very important to this comp. A typical game should go something like this. You land, loot your POI quickly, and begin rotating to a building where you can set up with Caustic and reside until endgame. My team usually likes to run at least one or more snipers when we play this team comp, so we can be getting kills and leveling evos while we're waiting. There might be a long period of time where you're not able to loot, which is where Loba's ult is useful in grabbing any items you might need and replenishing on meds and ammo. Once you make it towards endgame is where Fuse comes into play. I love to play Fuse in diamond lobbies because of the sheer amount of damage he can put in endgames. No one will be safe from his knuckle clusters, and pairing him and Caustic is a great way to push anyone inside of a building or tight space. And since most people in endgames are confined to buildings or tight spaces, this comp excels. Loba and Fuse also have a very good synergy, where the Fuse player can be spamming grenades and then use Loba's ult to get more. It's almost impossible to run out this way, and everyone else in the lobby will be hating you for the spamming. The whole point of this comp is to get looted early, find a power position for endgame, and then absolutely clean up once the time comes. I know it might sound a little boring, but most of the time I really enjoy playing this comp, and it has carried me through diamonds several times. That was it for the best team comps in Apex Legends right now. This was only part 1, and I will be dropping part 2 with 5 more of the best comps soon, so be on the lookout for that. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and leave a comment letting me know if there's a comp you really like to run that I didn't include on this list. Thank you for watching.